All right, well, there's straight up a lot to talk about. So, hello, Scotty. Hello, viewers, listeners.
Oh,
We're just going to ignore the fact that we haven't done a show since basically Thanksgiving.
has it been that long?
It's been a while. It's been a long time. I think the last time we talked, well, I don't even think we talked about any of the Thanksgiving games. Maybe it was before Thanksgiving, but I don't even know.
Oh, that's sad. I feel bad for our fan.
Well, we've at least two now. Two that I know pay attention. So that's more than I ever thought we were gonna have. So giddy up
That's
for
true.
us.
Yeah,
So I think on today's show we're gonna get into a lot of NFL stuff, as always. We're also talk a little bit of baseball, a little bit of hockey, probably no NBA, and then Olympics. But those will probably. What would you rather do? Would you rather kind of start with the smaller things and make one, and then get into the NFL stuff later? What would you rather do, Scotty?
Kevin, this is the first time that the Bengals are in the Super Bowl in my
So we'll
lifetime.
start with
We
the
have.
Olympics. Okay, so uh, um, well, Scotty, before I before I let you just kind of go, because I know that's what you want to do.
I don't
Um,
have to just go, but
I know what you want.
sure.
I know you. Um, I want to preface the conversation with I'm going to be as gracious as I can, but know that I'm hurting inside. And actually, this isn't about me. What am I even talking about? So
Why? But why? This is what I'm really curious about. Why does my team's success cause you to hurt any more than any other normal Brown season where they don't
don't
live
do
up to
it.
some
Don't.
expectations? No. I'm just wondering, like, why this causes you extra pain? Can't you be like if the roles were reversed? I was thinking about this a lot. If the Browns were in the Super Bowl right now and everything just flip flopped, right? Maybe the Bengals just had a whatever season they were 7-10 and missed the playoffs, and yeah, it was maybe a moral victory over the last year. And the Browns, like, wow, they had some really close games. They really eked it out against the number one and number two seed teams on the road and they made it into the Super Bowl, I'd be really happy for you. I'd be like, wow, man, this is pretty cool. Go Browns. I'd even root for them, to be honest with you, because
This is
they are a franchise that have never been to the Super Bowl. They're obviously never won the Super Bowl. Bengals we're in the similar vein. We're Ohio brothers in this regard. Like, you got to put the rivalries aside, man, when it comes to these big, like, you know, franchise altering moments. We got to be happy for each other.
It was wrong of me to start off that way. I apologize to you for that because we can and should and maybe shouldn't get into that stuff. I should let you have your moment. I mean, if nobody knows what we're talking about, the Super Bowl is this weekend, and the Cincinnati Bengals will be playing against the Los Angeles Rams in what many would not have predicted to be the Super Bowl this year. I think Chiefs Packers is what most people would have said. Maybe Bills Bucks was also like a viable one. Um, the Bengals are now going for their third try at an SB at the biggest award in American sports uh, that there is. Scotty, I know how you feel, but tell us how you feel.
I feel so much.
Yes, can you boil it down to like the what do people need to know about how you feel right now?
Well, I feel great, but I feel, it's interesting because I feel if you go back, and I did back to, I think it was like March 30th or whatever, one of our podcasts where Giovanni Bernard got, signed by the Bucks, and he was the last guy of
The end
like
of
the
an
Marvin
era.
Lewis era, end of an era, and I said it's a new day for the Who Day, and I knew back then that we had something special. I did, and listen, as a fan of a lot of sports, and I've had the privilege of seeing the Philadelphia Phillies win the World Series back in 2008. I've kind of supported and been around the Penguins, as they won back to back Stanley Cups. Like, I've seen teams just kind of organically build something special where you got lightning in a bottle and you don't exactly know why, but you just know that they feel, there's something special about this group and they end up getting a lot of success. I knew going into this season that the Bengals were on the precipice of something good like that. Now, the NFL is very difficult to, you know, go to the Super Bowl and achieve this type of success. But I knew that the Bengals were going to be a good team this year. I knew that they were going to vie for the division. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but to see them win the division, to see them sweep the Steelers, sweep the Ravens, beat the Tennessee Titans away with Derrick Henry and that offense after Burrow getting sacked 9 times and still pulling out a victory after beating Kansas City twice this year. Like that is huge. This Bengals team is they're not just this fluke team that like a Chicago Bears back in 2008 or 9 or whenever they went to the Super Bowl against the Colts. That was like kind of a flash in the pan. Wow, they were good for like the Jake Delhomme Panthers. They're not like that. This is a team that is actually a very good team built for long sustained success over the next 5 years. So the fact that they've made it to the Super Bowl now is awesome, and the prospects for the future are awesome too. And I feel kind of validated and vindicated that no one really gave the Bengals a chance this year, but they played their hearts out, and here they are.
It's actually interesting that you brought up the bear. Maybe it's a nitpicking your use of phrase, but you said being excited about a lightning in a bottle, and I immediately thought of that Bears team because lightning in a bottle means like it's probably not going to happen again. It's like it's really hard and it's probably not going to happen again. So I might not use that term
Lightning in a
because
bottle. So I meant lightning in a bottle as like you've captured for a while this core, this lightning in a bottle that you can harness for a long period of time, not a flash in the pan where it's just going to be like a quick thing. I mean, I don't know. It's just something I always use that term. Like, when because you didn't know exactly. I mean, the Bengals, just like the Philadelphia Phillies team that was super successful. When you're drafting these players, and you don't exactly know what you got until you got it, and then you're like, holy crap, this is amazing, and you could let it ride for a little while, and that's what they're gonna do. I mean, look, they need to win the Super Bowl this year because they can definitely win the Super Bowl, and you never know what's going to happen next year. They could be on the wrong side of a last minute field goal or whatever, and they might never see the Super Bowl ever again. So you got to capitalize this year. But they've got $44 million in cap space going into next season. They have no significant. I think Jesse Bates might be the only major potential free agent that they need to try to re-sign. Everyone else is already locked in under contract. They got tons of cap space. They could sign some better veteran linemen. People are going to want to go to Cincinnati now because of what they're doing with this organization. They're going to attract some free agents. They have all 7 draft picks. Granted, it's going to be like the bottom of the rounds now because they're in the Super Bowl, but they've got all the draft picks that they need. They've got tons of space. They can actually build upon the success of this year going forward. So I mean, the sky's the limit for the Bengals, and it's still way too early, but the the D word could potentially be applied here. We'll see what happens over the next 4 or 5 years, but
death,
this could. Yeah, I'm
destruction.
not. I'm not going to say it, but if you think about the other teams in the past that have had sustained success for a long period of time, there's a D word that gets thrown out there, and this could be the start of that.
Well, okay, so I want to a couple things there. So first of all, I think it's interesting because you are right in that the Bengals are kind of set up for a period of success, and on the other side of the field, you have the Rams, who everybody is saying that they've kind of sold their soul this year, and they don't have any draft picks, and they just went out and got Von Miller and OBJ, and they just kind of try to stack a full team together, and they could win. I think they're going to be the favorites going into the game, but I think that it's interesting to have two teams on kind of opposite ends of the uh, progress or whatever you want to call it, whatever they're trying to build. Um, it might not be as sustainable in Los Angeles. Um, but you said something else that I can't. It's totally lost. I totally lost it. Um, the Bengals, Burrow. I don't know.
You gotta love Joe Burrow.
You're
Come
just
on.
you're a propagandist, and actually, you don't need to love Joe Burrow. I want to say this. Okay, I want to say this. So, um, you are my brother. That is an undeniable fact. It's about probably the only sure thing that will come out of our mouths on this episode. I am happy for you as a person, as a sports watcher, as someone who cares about the teams you support. I am happy for you. Um, so everything I say after that statement is kind of just me, um, probably being bitter and salty and irritated about it all because I am about all of it.
Would you say that there's would you say that there's some jealousy?
Without a doubt, without a doubt, and I don't. I'm not embarrassed to say. I mean, it's a natural human emotion to feel jealousy. There's no shame in that. Um,
Yeah, agreed.
what I unfortunately, it is absolutely clouding my judgment with this game. When you have a team in the Super Bowl, everything about that team is just looked at. There's 2 full weeks of dedicated, let alone the whole playoff the month, where you got analysts and media and people talking about the team and looking at the players and digging into their stories and blah 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 blah. You got Harambe's getting shout outs now. Like you just there's so much else that comes along with it, and all of the profiles on your team just get highlighted. There are those same people and those same stories and all those things on every single roster. Um, but that's what you get by being good enough to make it to the Super Bowl. And the thing I've been irritated with, not the most, because I've got a lot of irritations, um, but it's my I've got these it's just people coming out of the woodwork, not out of the woodwork. They're friends I talk to often, but messaging me and just like little barbs that don't like they're like Bills fans. I know you've had run-ins with Bills fans, Scotty.
I have had
Let's
run-ins
talk
with
about
Bills
Bills
fans.
fans. They're out of it. They probably don't deserve to be talked about right now, but neither do the Browns. So whatever. The Bills, they should have beaten the Chiefs.
They should have beaten the Chiefs.
If Cincinnati had played the Bills, I think you would agree that it probably would have been a tall order for the Bengals to beat Buffalo. They could have.
Well,
Of course,
okay,
they could have. No,
they
I don't
could.
want to get into back and forth about that. The
Right.
Bengals are
I don't want
obviously
either.
good enough, a good enough team. They can go toe to toe with any team in the NFL right now. That's I'm not arguing with that. Buffalo was so hot, and that was such a crazy game. I mean, 13 seconds left. The Chiefs really had no business. I mean, whatever. Buffalo fans are feeling it right now, and I can't say I blame them, but the Buffalo fans in my life have just been like dropping little things to me. I mean, they know who I support, they know who I like, and it's like I love this Burrow guy. Well, because they want him to beat the Chiefs. Buffalo has nothing against Cincinnati, at least in my experience. It's all Kansas City because it's 2 years now. It's like the two top offenses in the AFC.
Right.
So it's like it's like I gotta root for Joe Burrow. Oh, Burrow's amazing. I'm like, shut the hell. I'm like, what are you trying to accomplish by telling me this? What do I care? I don't need to know that you're really rooting for the Bengals. I don't give a shit. Like, what are you talking to me about this for? But I'm getting so much of that, and Joe Burrow, this badass with like the cigars and like all these things. You got a lot to be happy about, Scotty. But can you not understand why someone like me would not be I mean, think about this.
Yeah,
Think about this.
Kev.
You got Joey B, Joey Football, blah, 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 smoking his cigars, wearing the swag, wearing the chains, all these things. And the Browns don't even know what's happening with their quarterback situation. I mean, they do. It's figured out for the next year, but you have to understand why there's no Ohio allegiance here. There's no NFC. There's no AFC North allegiance here. This isn't college sports where the success of your conference could help you in the rankings if you beat certain. That's not the case here. It's all wins and losses. I shouldn't. I don't want. I'm happy for you personally. I don't want anything good to happen to the Bengals. I don't want Cincinnati. I'm not rooting for Cincinnati over the Rams just because they are Cincinnati, or if it's AFC or whatever, or even Ohio. You are our division rival. You stole our colors. You stole our coach. You have no bit. I mean, I'd annex you to Kentucky the second I could. Okay, why would I ever like Joe Burrow root for the Bengals this week? I have no idea why people would think that. You're not the only person to be like, you gotta love. People are all, are you rooting for the Cincinnati, Ohio? We have all of the people in our family, all the people in Ohio that are our grandparents, cousins, whatever. Steelers fans that should be feel the same way I do. They're rooting for Cincinnati. It's like there's no reason for this. I mean,
look here. Okay, here's the thing. I get everything you're saying, and I get it. I totally get it. There's a difference between rooting for them in this game this season versus just wanting them to be successful just in general, right? Like, I think all of America really is rooting for the Bengals, at least it feels like it, because of the story, because of the underdog, like rags to riches type of success that they found
what
this season.
rags?
We've won 6 games prior to the season. We won 6 games in the last 2 years. I mean, that was they were the number one pick in 2020. Like going from that bad of a team to now being in the Super Bowl and then being set up to actually be good for a little while. Like that's something that franchises dream of. The Detroit Lions, your Cleveland Browns, would dream of this scenario of getting the number one pick, getting your guy, getting your franchise
Well, that's why I'm
quarterback.
mad, Scotty, because that
I
was the
understand.
Browns story. We won 11 games last year. Like we did make the playoffs. We won a playoff game. Like that was us. That's why I'm pissed. That's why I'm jealous because this was supposed to be the Browns, not the Bengals. Okay, we won one game in 2 seasons. We were like, well, what is that? 1-31 or something like that. Like that's the rags to riches, actual rags. It's not just like, oh, I've been my team owner's been sitting on this old washed out Marvin Lewis for over a decade. Those aren't rags. Winning 8 games a season. That's not rags. Making the
They
playoffs, failing in the playoffs. That's not rags. That's like middling to riches. I don't know. What do you want
they
me to
were
say?
they were committed to a strategy that ultimately wasn't successful in the early teens. Okay, they're in the middle. They're in year 3 of a 3-year rebuild, and they're in the freaking Super Bowl. That is like you can't ask for anything better than that. You know,
Well, no,
like
no.
it
Of course
is.
you can't. Of course you as a fan can't ask for anything more than that. But
But
then
that's
again,
but
I'm just trying to. I'm saying all of this stuff not to like refute you or make you feel whatever. I'm just trying to explain
I
to
feel
you.
great. Listen. I understand. You've explained it very well. I get what you're saying completely. But objectively, you can't deny that this is the story that people root for when it comes to sports. You know, you've got this team that was been kind of just built. You know, they built themselves up. They're a young team. They don't know what they don't know right now. They've kind of gotten into the situation where they're good, and now they're facing it up against this LA Rams team that has been basically a totally bought and manufactured team. I mean, the Los Angeles fan base doesn't even care about their own football teams that are in that city. And meanwhile, you got you got the Bengals out there and the Bengals fans and Bengals nation really that's come alive. Like it's just something that you root for in sports. They are the underdogs that are just you hope they win. It's the Rudy story. It's all these
No,
things
no.
is what the Cincinnati Bengals represent this year and why an objective sports fan like yourself should just support them and root for them.
If this was any team other than LA, uh, I don't think that would be the case. I mean, like Cincinnati. It, this is going to sound really disrespectful, and I guess it is. I don't really mean it this way. I'm just trying to make a larger point. Like Cincinnati isn't really on. This is the way I want to put it. Cincinnati isn't really on people's radars as has been like a down and out city for a long time when it comes to like sports and stuff. You think Buffalo, you think Cleveland, you think Detroit, you think whatever. Like those are the city. What I'm talking like
Why? How do you not add Cincinnati to that mix? I mean, the
no
last
no
time they
no.
won anything was 1990 with the Reds. You
Scotty,
know,
do they have like legitimate legitimate reasoning to be in that group, sure. But I think if you just ask general sports fans about who are the dogs of whatever, Cincinnati's probably not going to be in that group that the general sports fan in South Carolina or some shit would say. So if you're absolutely right about LA, where their fans don't really even care. They just moved. The team's been moving around here and there. They didn't grow a team. They didn't really think of they aren't doing the traditional rebuild. They're doing much more like what the Bucks did last year, with just grabbing all these pieces and these great players. So for that reason, I think that the Bengals are this they're taking the underdog role because nobody expected them to be there and all this. But I don't think it's fair to say that people should be rooting for Cincinnati because they are the Rudy of the NFL. That is not true. This is not true. They're not like the hopeless. No one ever saw this coming. Nobody saw it coming this year, but everybody knew Joe Burrow was good. He won a freaking national championship. You know what I'm saying? It's not that.
You can't. Listen, you say whatever you want to say. The
I just
narrative
did.
is how. Yeah, the narrative though, the national narrative and the feeling across the country is what I described, and they are the underdog story that no one expected. The Bengals to do this. They're a fun team. They're an exciting team. They're a humble yet hungry team. It is everything you want to root for in a sports story
So you agree with
wrapped up in a bow.
so you agree with conforming to the narrative, the popular narrative. Is that what you're proposing?
This narrative just happened. This
Well,
is
you
what it
just said
is.
it's the popular narrative, the nation, the country.
Yeah, Kevin, you don't understand. I have been
What
an
have you been?
isolated. Let me tell you, I've been an isolated Bengals fan my entire life. I've never since
Watch
I've
who you're talking to. Watch who you're talking to,
hold on.
buddy.
Well, listen. Look, obviously living here in Pittsburgh, you know how it is in Pittsburgh. There's no Bengals fan. I don't know any Bengal fan here. I don't know a single other than myself. I don't know anyone that supports the Bengals anywhere where I live right now. When I lived in Wisconsin, it was the same way. Hold on. You at least have been able to go to Cleveland. You've gone to Browns games. You've been a part of Browns Nation. You've been able to get your bones and high five everybody and all that. I've always every time that I've seen the Bengals play, it was in opposing teams' territory where I was an outcast and booed and told to drink Bud Light limes and all that. And Bengals fans just have never really had anything to be proud of. When I was in Disney World 2 weeks ago, I wore my Bengals hoodie. You will not believe that was right after we'd beaten the Titans and we hadn't even played the Chiefs yet. You would not believe how awesome it was to get just random people saying, "Oh, hey, man, who day, what's going on? Yeah, go Bengals. Hey, you guys think you can beat the Chiefs next week?" There was actually some excitement around my sports team. You wear that Bengals B around, it used to be Scarlet Letter. Now it's like, holy crap!
It was
Yeah,
never a
hey,
scarlet letter.
oh, it
You
sure
wear the
was.
Bengals jersey around, the Bengals whatever around. No one was going ha, what are you doing, you idiot?
They
Nobody
were
said
th-
that.
they were thinking it.
Scotty,
They
you're
were thinking
painting
it.
your okay, exactly. You are not going to. You are talking to the wrong guy if you want sympathy for being a fan of a a bad team.
I don't
You're,
want
you're,
sympathy. I
well,
don't
what
want
are you
sympathy.
asking for?
I don't
You're
want.
painting this
All I'm
whole
saying
hold
is,
on. You're giving me this whole thing about how I was isolated and alone and no one to high five. Give me a
it
fucking
it
break, dude.
feels good to be a part of an. I really felt now that I'm actually part of a national community of supporters of something.
Isn't the steel? You could have chosen any team, by the way. You could be a. And also, no, you have a car. You can drive to Cincinnati. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities to your life. You make good money. I
It's
mean,
just
what are you talking about? Oh, you go to Browns. Okay, well, you
it's
don't go
just it's
to.
just it's just far enough on a Sunday.
I'm supposed to root for your team. I'm supposed to feel good about your team possibly winning the Super Bowl because you haven't gone to a Bengals game. Okay, I guess that's the case.
Yeah, it's all
Hey,
right, man.
listen.
I get it. Again, you've explained it well. I fully understand how frustrating it would be after 20 years of having number one pick after number one pick and failing to get a franchise quarterback, muddling around with just mediocrity and
Okay,
just
hold on a minute. Hold
awfulness.
on. I take it
I,
easy.
I
Okay.
get I get I get how frustrating it is to see, going from Marvin Lewis the long tenure Marvin Lewis and at least some division championships and postseason appearances to the success that Zach Taylor's had now. And getting our franchise quarterback that is going to be around, probably be stomping on the Brownies and everyone else for the next few years. I get it. It's a bad situation for you. So if you want to lash out, it's fine. But
I'm not lashing. It's actually not that bad for me. I actually have faith in Baker. I don't want to get into that, but I really, you talking about the story that people should be rooting for. Can we talk about Matt Stafford? I mean, I'm rooting for Matt Stafford. That dude's been drowning in Detroit. Nobody, no help, no coach. I mean, he had Megatron. I mean, you can't like you just can't discount that he actually did have a Hall of Fame wide receiver for like several years. That's true.
Certainly.
But the dude plays his heart out. I mean, there aren't a lot of players that play tough like Matt Stafford does. And now he finally has a chance he's had the more playoff success than he's ever had. I mean, I'm rooting for that guy.
Listen, I can't agree more. I mean, the only saving grace of the Bengals losing the Super Bowl here is it will probably solidify Matt Stafford going into the Hall of Fame with getting a Super Bowl ring. I think.
You think so?
Because I do. I really do. I think that's the only thing he was really. I mean, that guy. He's one of the best quarterbacks in this era. Certainly top 8. Of all the quarterbacks in the last 15 years, you have to put him up there.
I worry that go ahead. Sorry.
But he's what, 35, I think.
He just
turned
34.
Just turned 34. So he's got another year or two. So if he does get a Super Bowl this year, he continues to be successful with the Rams the next season or two. Maybe they make it deep into the playoffs. Maybe a Super Bowl appearance again. Like, that's it. I mean, he's got the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. I think he already would deserve it.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with that because I don't have his numbers memorized and everything. But it does kind of feel like if he doesn't win, he'll kind of fall into like a Fran Tarkenton. Like, he's a quarterback name that they were good in the past, but you don't know necessarily even what team they were on or like how much they won or like what they contributed. Like, the annals of time as we go on and decades pass, you'll remember Matt Stafford's name, but he'll just be like a name, not as like a great champion. If he wins, though, he has a chance to do that. And if you're a casual sports fan and you don't really have any ties to any specific city, I mean, it's hard to deny. I mean, Joe Burrow, as we both would agree, is probably going to have at least a couple extra cracks at a deep playoff run. That might not happen for Stafford. I mean, I don't know that it's going to happen at all. So
that's true. I don't know what the cap space and what's going on with the Rams after the season. Like, who's coming?
They have no draft. They don't have a first-round draft pick for like 3 years.
Yeah, it's going to be like this is it for the Rams. They need to win in this very small window now, because if they don't, it's going to be bad for them for a long time. So I would agree. I mean, obviously, there's no way in hell that I wouldn't be rooting like avidly for the Bengals to win here, but I at least feel better if they're going to losing to a team like the Stafford-led Rams.
Then like Brady honestly, again.
Yeah, versus like Brady and maybe it'd be cool to see Aaron Rodgers win one more, but
not against the Bengals.
Not against the Bengals, right. That might have been the only other quarterback to be like, okay, well, but other than that, like I would have not wanted to lose to Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers. That would have been awful.
Kyler Murray.
So yeah. No,
Dak. Oh my gosh, the Cowboys. Scottie, what if because your childhood team was the Dallas Cowboys? What if it was the Cowboys and the Bengals? I mean, obviously you go Bengals, but how about that?
Bengals Super Bowl would be a fun Super Bowl. Let me just tell you.
That'd be like a Brown Saints Super Bowl for me.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I would enjoy that. I would just buy Super Bowl. Like, just Super Bowl gear for that Super Bowl, Like, I would love to see like the Bengals logo and the Cowboys logo, like Super Bowl 56, Like, that would be a cool shirt just to wear around. Like, that would be. I would just eat that up. That would be. What
I feel the same way. I don't, so I guess the proof isn't in the pudding, not my pudding. So, but I would feel that way. I was just thinking about combinations, but Raiders Bucks, that's a cool. Those are some like in terms of having gear of two teams you don't really care about, just because it was a cool match, a cool Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I wonder what other good ones were out there in history. There's
Oh, Packers
obviously
Chiefs.
Cowboys
I mean,
Steelers, Packers Chiefs, Cowboys Steelers. I think would be good, but there's
yeah.
probably a few other Super Bowl matchups out there that would be kind of fun to just wear the gear for. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not going to buy many Bengals Rams stuff. If obviously if the Bengals win, I'm going to buy every single Super Bowl thing. Period.
I
But
don't blame you.
yeah,
Let's do you have any more on the Super Bowl game? Because we have tons of other NFL stuff to get into.
yeah. The only thing, this is the Scottie Ray keys to the game here. It's this. And this is not going to be a big shock, obviously, but the Bengals are going to win or they're going to lose based on how they block. That is that is it. If they can contain Aaron Donald and
Ooh,
Von Miller
ooh.
and Leonard Floyd and all those guys, then they're going to win. They will win the game. If they can not allow Joe Burrow to get sacked, he has got time to throw the ball. They will win the game. If 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 they get sacked 9 times like did against the Titans, they're going to lose. Like they can't they performed admirably against the Chiefs. And the offensive line did, and they were able to give Burrow some time, so he was able to make some plays, and in the second half they scored some points. They have to do that again this year or this week because Stafford and Cooper Kupp they're gonna score some points. So if the Bengals can't score because Burrow's getting sacked every other play, it's over. Can't win. So that is 100% it. And Aaron Donald, I love Aaron Donald. He's a pick guy. Any other game, I want him to sack the quarterback a million times because I just love Aaron Donald. But I am definitely afraid of what he's going to do to our quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least 5 months of recovery before OTAs start. So
That's right.
get the Carson Palmer treatment. All right, NFL stuff. So I'll let you decide, Scotty. We got head coaching changes. We got Pro Bowl general chatter, and we got QB question marks. The off season is upon us, my friend. I'm so excited. It's right around the corner. Pretty soon we'll be talking about combine and ramping up NFL draft talk. Oh, I love the off season.
That's right, exactly. I'd say let's do some quarterback talk right now.
Okay, so I think that what I'll do, and we're going to take a similar approach to the head coaching changes. I'm going to run through the quarterbacks that have the biggest question marks, and you just tell me which of these you're most intrigued by.
Okay.
We could do it that way, or we could do run through which teams you think that this quarterback will be on, or if you were choosing where they go. This is a little free
A little
form. bit of both. A little bit of both.
Okay.
Well, then we'll give like a quick 30 seconds on each. How about that?
Sounds good.
Actually, it kind of plays into the whole head coaching conversation. These kind of go hand in hand because a lot of the coaches, they're head coach and quarterback are so tied together, so tight. I guess let's start with. I'm taking Baker off the list, okay? Because the Browns have already come out and said that for the next year, he's the guy. They're going to let him play his fifth-year option, and they'll figure it out later on. So
Aaron Rodgers was spotted in Cleveland just earlier this week.
It's a beautiful city. There's a casino. There's a lot to do. There's a national park. That's why he was there. Russell Wilson.
Okay. First off, I want to see him play for another team, and I don't know if that's going to happen. He's under contract for 2 more years. It'd be a trade, right?
Yes,
I think so. If I could do anything with Russell Wilson, I would trade him to the Saints. I think he would be a really fun quarterback down in New Orleans. I think he'd be good for what that team needs down there. Obviously, the coaching situation. Have they named a replacement for Sean Payton yet?
Yes, we'll get into that. Yeah, they have.
Okay, cool. So it's a whole new environment down there, new offense, I'm sure. And so it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. But I feel like Russell Wilson for the Saints would be a good fit. I don't really want to see him in Seattle anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Saints would be the most fun place for him to go. And actually, the Saints was an internal hire, so I think the offense will stay mostly the same. But that's good because I think Wilson can do a lot of what Breeze was doing, but Wilson's still a little bit more athletic than Breeze was here at the end of his career. Um, while we're talking about the Saints, famous Jameis. I mean, what do you think is going to happen to him? Back to the Bucks, perhaps, Scotty.
He could go back to the Bucks. I don't know if Bruce Arians would want him anymore after his like 40 interception season that he had before he left
I
for the
think
Saints.
I think Arians would rather retire than take Jameis back.
I would agree with that. You know, I don't know. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see how he comes back from his injury. He was playing okay for the Saints
Hmm.
before he got hurt. I could see him. I could see him kind of going the Cam Newton route of like signing like a 1 year, 2 year deal with a team that just needs a quarterback for like a season. So like, heck, I don't know, put him on the Panthers. He'd be kind of cool in the Panthers, I think. You know,
Mm.
that'd be not a bad option. I would take interest in him. Another place that could be intriguing is a place like Denver. You know, who knows what Denver's going to do with their quarterback situation? But like, is Jameis a free agent or is he going to be traded?
Yeah, I wish I can look it up if you keep talking a little bit. I think that he re-signed maybe on a 1 year deal.
Okay. I see Jameis Winston as a guy who would probably get a 1 year deal, maybe 2 year deal, who can play for a team that like can compete, and maybe they'll go 500 or like that's like a 500 level team that maybe has an outside shot at the playoffs, looking for like a stopgap while they look for their franchise person. I could see him adding some value there if he recovers from his injury well. So a team like Denver potentially, although Denver I think they've got more tools where they could actually go farther if they can get a guy that can maybe be around for 3 years. But I don't know. I'm thinking like a Miami or a Carolina, something like that would be a good situation for Jameis there.
Yeah, I think he's a free agent this year, so he will probably be moving places. Um,
Okay,
um, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I think that Aaron Rodgers actually has a much wider range of outcomes than we all think. So I think that the most likely places for him would be Green Bay, Denver, or San Francisco. I think that Denver, just because Elway likes to do that, and they have a good defense, and they've got some pretty good offensive talent. I actually think he'd do quite well in Denver. San Francisco, I mean, that offense, I mean, I like Jimmy G. I've liked Jimmy G for a long time. Um, there was a time back before Baker, and it might have been when we had like, I don't know, Cody Kessler or something like that. I was like, Browns, let's go, baby, make a deal. Actually, there was, you might not remember, but I think in one of those years, the rumor was that Cleveland was really in it, but Belichick turned it down or put the kibosh on it and let Jimmy sit behind Brady one more year. Devastating. Anyway, um, but I think the one place that Aaron Rodgers will not be is Tampa Bay. I mean, people are all like, "Oh, well, Arians could just bring Rodgers down there, and they already have the team together." And I don't think that'll happen. I think Rodgers won't want to chase or follow Brady's footsteps at all. Um, I'm not very
agreed.
interested in where Aaron Rodgers goes, to be honest. I think he'll be fine wherever he goes, but I think
Uh,
I'm just fatigued by talking about him a little bit. It's been a long year just to talk about Aaron Rodgers and they crapped the bed against the Rams or whoever they played, San Francisco.
I think I kind of agree. I'm a little over the Rodgers situation too. I think that so as long as the Packers are committed to winning with this core and not committed to a rebuild, I think he's going to stay in Green Bay. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I definitely agree that he's not going to go to Tampa Bay and he's not going to go to Pittsburgh. Those are the two places that I'm sure that he will not be going. I think the other options like Denver and San Francisco are certainly a realistic option, and I could see the Denver Broncos like going all in for Aaron Rodgers because I think that they think they have a team that could go to the Super Bowl and win if they can get a quarterback like him because everyone else is good. But I'll tell you what, same thing with San Francisco. If Aaron Rodgers goes to San Francisco, that team will be unstoppable.
Front runner.
With Deebo Samuel and some of the other George Kittle. I mean, oh my gosh, he's gonna just light the world on fire with
the favorites will be 49ers and Chiefs. That'll be maybe the Bills, but I think people still have more confidence in Reed and Mahomes over the Bills. But it's funny, back when the Peyton Manning sweepstakes was going on, I feel like it was also Denver and San Francisco. I don't know. Okay, let's go a little quicker through the rest of these. Kirk Cousins, coaching change that we'll talk about briefly. You think he's going to stay?
He might stay for a year, but with a new coach, you've gotten all that you can get out of Kirk Cousins. He's not going to do anything more than you. He's always been this player. He's a 8-8, whatever kind of a quarterback who's not going to lose the game for you, not going to win the game for you. I fully expect a new administration that comes in is going to want to overhaul and get somebody new. So
I think he'll stay.
He'll be gone.
I think he'll stay, and then
he'll stay for a year, but that's it. Like they're not gonna. They won't move him probably, but they're not gonna do anything with him.
I think Cousins will be the next Fitzpatrick. Serviceable, hopping around.
You think he's that good?
Wait, are you claiming that Fitzpatrick is better than Kirk Cousins?
Dude, Fitzpatrick can work wonders.
Moving on. Well, okay, so there's a bunch of quarterbacks that we're not going to talk about. I don't really care about them. I think it's fair to say that there's a question mark, maybe not a bold question mark or like an italicized question mark, but just a regular plain question mark around like Matt Ryan, Derek Carr, Tannehill, Tua. I don't care about them. But what about Deshaun Watson? I mean, there's a lot that's still going to happen with the legal proceedings. I doubt anybody will really make a move for or even about him. I doubt the Texans even say anything about him until some of that stuff's resolved. But football wise only, could you see him landing on a team and doing anything in the next year?
Legal things aside, assuming all that clears up and he could get on the field, I think that he it's possible. Now, there is something to be said about not playing professional football for a certain period of time and being out of the league, out of the game speed, all those types of things. Who knows? I'm sure he's conditioning and training and, playing to, or at least preparing to return at some point. But, you go 2 years not being in the league and coming back, it might be kind of tough, at least to be the elite person that he was promised to be. So it really kind of depends on the situation. It doesn't seem like the Texans are really prepared to move him unless they get the king's ransom of draft picks and things like that. And I don't think while this stuff is out there, no team is willing to give that up for someone that potentially might not even play because he could be in jail or whatever, So he's going to be playing for the Texans for a while. So the Texans, given where they're at in terms of a franchise, who knows how good he'll be if he does end up returning. So I'm lukewarm on a Deshaun Watson return. I probably wouldn't draft him as a fantasy football quarterback, if he's to come back and play. So how successful he's going to be, I don't know. We're just going to have to see. But I'm not looking not optimistic.
The head coach carousel has stopped. There are a lot of teams that changed. There's 9 teams. What is that? 32 divided by 9. Is that a third? I think that's close to
almost
a third.
It's close to a third.
Of the league switched over to a different coach, and offense is the main theme of this cycle. Looking at it right now, it looks like only 2 of the 9 are defensive guys. So everybody else is either an offensive coordinator or previously offensive-minded head coach. So we're to do this a little bit quicker. I don't think that a lot of these guys I don't see being long-term solutions for these teams. But I'll just run through the list quickly, Scott. You just tell me which one you're most intrigued by. Um, Saints hired Dennis Allen, who was their defensive coordinator. The Giants hired Brian Daboll, who was the offensive coordinator for the Bills. Miami hired Mike McDaniel, who was the offensive coordinator for San Francisco. The Raiders hired Josh McDaniels. Finally, that guy leaves the Patriots. He was the offensive coordinator for the Patriots for a long time. The Jaguars hired Dougie Fresh, Doug Peterson, baby. The Bears hired Matt Eberflus, who was the offensive coordinator for the Colts. Denver hired Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator for Green Bay. Hello, Aaron Rodgers. What's up? The Vikings hired some guy named Kevin O'Connell, who is currently the Rams offensive coordinator. Good luck in the Super Bowl. Finally, Houston just announced they were the last team to announce their hiring. I think they might have been. Maybe Dennis Allen was. Doesn't matter. Good old Lovie Smith back in the NFL head coaching seat. I'm gonna start with Lovie Smith here. I don't have a lot to say. Do I think that's who the Texans actually wanted to hire? No. I like Lovie Smith. Great name, great beard. Keeps his head down. Just not a lot of drama. Seems like a no-nonsense kind of football coach. I like that. Goes to Illinois after being with the Bucks for a long time, with the Bears. Head coach for the Bears. Then I think the Bucks. Then the University of Illinois. Now he's with the Texans. Good for Lovie Smith. It might be a disaster, but good for Lovie. Scottie, other than Lovie Smith, which I know is who you're most excited about, who else? What are the other ones intrigue you?
Well, okay, so the Texans should have just kept their previous head coach than getting Lovie Smith, in my opinion. He actually
What
won
was his
some
name?
games with it. I don't know his name. I can't tell you off the top of my head. I'll be honest.
Shame.
I'm not even gonna lie. But he at least
Keep
won
the no name.
Yeah. Well, he at least won a few games with a team that didn't have any business winning. So Lovie Smith. If Lovie Smith, I mean, that's going to be bad. He did not do anything for Illinois. He made Illinois worse, even though
he did.
Anyways, the two head coaching options that intrigue me the most, or the hires that intrigue me the most, is McDaniels for the Raiders, because he's coming into a situation. I think he's coming into the best situation out of all the new head coaches to succeed immediately. Personally, you could make the argument maybe of Nathaniel Hackett, because he is really just a quarterback away of also from success too. But that's really my other intriguing one as well. So I think those two coaching hires are really the most intriguing to me, because I think that they actually have the best chance of having success next season and really improving the team. Whereas some of these other guys, I mean, what's his face for the Giants, who coached for the Bills,
what's his face?
Might do something. Yeah, what's his face?
He was the hottest coach in this cycle, man.
Yeah, Brian Daboll. Okay, great.
Can I say something about Brian Daboll? That dude's not going to work in New York. I mean, Brian Daboll has been with like 8 teams in the last like 14 seasons. That dude's jumped around. He was like a quarterback's coach for the Browns back in like the 2010s. No, I mean he is going to be completely reliant on Daniel Jones. They only hired him to make Daniel Jones good. If he can't make Daniel Jones good, he's gone. I mean, because he did it with Josh Allen. Because Josh Allen had either a bad rookie season or a bad sophomore season, and then he turned it around. And then last year was great. This year was great. That's the only reason they hired him. And I don't think Daniel Jones is as good as Josh Allen. So whatever for Brian Daboll. I know I kind of cut you off here. I want to talk about Mike McDaniel. I don't know what to make of that guy, because it really seems like he first landed on anyone's radar during this playoff run for the 49ers. I don't think anybody could have told you who's the offensive coordinator for San Francisco. I mean, it's Shanahan. hell, I don't even know who the defensive coordinator for San Francisco is. I don't know a lot of coordinators. But for him to just up and get the Miami job, and we didn't even talk about Jim Harbaugh. What
Oh, I know. That was
I
amazing.
mean,
What a great story that was.
I agree with you. So Mike, we'll talk about Mike McDaniel again because he's at Miami, which is very connected to Jim Harbaugh. But Josh McDaniels. So I'm really surprised to see him leave the Patriots, go to the Raiders. Obviously, a job that he didn't think that he'd ever have a chance at because Gruden was there, and up until this season, Gruden had like 7 more, like a 10-year deal. I really wonder what is going on in New England. Like it raises more questions for me in New England than it does for the Raiders because I thought way back like 2 or 3 years ago when Josh McDaniels literally accepted the Colts job and then like 2 days later turned it down just to stay put in New England. I thought that was like the biggest signal flare for him. He's going to be in New England. He's the heir apparent for Belichick. He's going to take over. Like, is Belichick going to stay? Is he going to keep coaching Mac Jones and just ride out into just see how long the ride can last? I mean, he made the playoffs. They didn't win a playoff game, but
I think the plan, this is all just speculation, conspiracy theory in my head, but I think that the plan at that time 2 years ago was for Belichick and Brady to kind of like, end together right off to the sunset. And then when the Patriots organization, kind of changed things around and said, hey, we're going to move on from Brady before Belichick was done. And then Brady going down and winning a Super Bowl, I think that changed everything. I think that because Brady and Belichick's legacies seemingly now were tied together and Brady found immediate success on another team and Belichick still hasn't yet, I think he's hungry for another Super Bowl before he actually hangs it up to show that he can do it without Tom Brady. I think that that's what's happening, and I think that wasn't the plan. 2 years ago when Josh McDaniels was kind of convinced to stay. I think by this time I think he was likely promised the Patriots head coaching position, which he wanted, and that's why he stuck around. So I think that this whole what happened with Brady winning the Super Bowl and how the conversation changed between Belichick's coaching prowess versus Tom Brady's just success at the quarterback position. I think that's what's different now and why this is where we're at.
Yeah, my hunch is that I think what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to check my timeline here. I think what happened with McDaniels and the Colts, I think that the only reason he turned that job down was because I think he might have either known or something about Andrew Luck. I mean, Andrew Luck retired. I'm looking at the timeline, and it looks like it was a year after Josh McDaniels turned. So McDaniels turned down the Colts job in 2018. Andrew Luck retired in 2019, like right before that season started. So it doesn't perfectly line up, but the conspiracy theorist in me wants to believe that McDaniels maybe knew that Andrew Luck's health wasn't great and that he was considering this option. And the only reason he was going to go to the Colts is because you have Andrew Luck. I mean, he's a generational talent. I love Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
I wish he was still playing, but he seems really happy. It doesn't matter. I think it's very possible that maybe Bill Belichick doesn't have an ego. He doesn't really care, and he's gonna ride out the rest of his contract. I don't know how many years he's got left. And he's like, Josh, listen, if you want it, go get it. Like, you know the state of the team in New England here. You know what they've got in Las Vegas. It could be a good opportunity for you. Make your own decision. And then these are people after all. It's like maybe there isn't some grand thing about Belichick wanting to prove that he can do it on his own. I think Brady felt that because I think that when there's already a power structure that like the head coach is like he's the head coach. He has head in front of his title, and the quarterback's just a quarterback. Brady might have had a little bit of that prove it in him, and he did go down and do it himself. I think everybody sees that too. I don't think anybody's questioning Belichick's greatness. I mean, he did put all those teams together. He did lead both the offense and defense to all those championships. I don't think that Belichick has that big of an ego. I mean, the dude's cemented in football history. I mean, the only thing he doesn't have is like a signet. Well, he has the tattered hoodie. He even has a piece of clothing. The Alabama coach with the hat. You got Belichick's set. I don't think Belichick wants anything more out of football than he already has. I think it might have just been a good opportunity for McDaniels, but I am surprised to see him leave to go to Las Vegas, where I don't know about Derek Carr. I don't think I'd be
Derek Carr needs to go.
I think I'd be more excited about if it's solely quarterback related. I think I'd be more excited about Mac Jones than Derek Carr. Am I wrong about that?
Oh, for sure. Oh no, you're not wrong. Mac Jones is a rookie,
and also
he's got all the promise.
And after the season that the Raiders had, Derek Carr is like sincerely the leader of that team. Like they didn't have much else.
Yeah.
So and the interim head coach is out of there anyway. He just signed with the Packers, special teams coordinator. Right. Anyway, so I think Josh McDaniels is interesting. The only one we'll go back to. All the drama. What'd you make of the whole Jim Harbaugh thing? That dude is such an effing snake. That guy, he is like the equivalent of like in Game of Thrones. He's Bronn in Game of whoever's paying him the most, he'll go. Like whatever's advantageous to him. That dude doesn't have an ounce of loyalty in his body. I can't. We're biased. We're Ohio State fans. That dude is the worst. The worst. He's the worst. He's
a scumbag.
I don't even think he has bad vision. He just wears those glasses because, just like Belichick, just like Brett Bear. What's his?
Bear Bryant.
I had it close. He just wanted to look. He wanted like the little fancy glasses with it. Fuck that guy. I'm confidently saying it. Sorry, we'll put it whenever beep it up. Fuck that dude. That dude is running amok. He's doing whatever he wants. He thinks he owns the place. Well, you don't own this place. All right. The Dolphins fired Flores, caused a big old shitstorm that we're going to be hearing about for the next like 3 years. Thanks a lot for that one, Miami. And now, all to get Harbaugh, because Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, is like a huge boost. He's like the largest booster for University of Michigan that they've ever had. Of course, it was motivated just to get Harbaugh. And Harbaugh is like, he floated out some like, maybe I'll leave Michigan. Ooh. And it was for the Dolphins. Now he's like, oh crap, well I have to go make it look like Minnesota's a thing, whatever. And as soon as Flores hit the fan, he's like, I can't. Like owner of the Dolphins, I can't come coach for you now. I'll get murdered for this. Let's let it cool off for a season. Go ruin this Mike McDaniels kid's life, and then I'll see you in 2024. Okay, that's what's going to happen. Jim Harbaugh is a clown and a spinster and a joke. Not a spinster. That's totally different. That guy's no good. Clown show.
He is no good. He is a clown, and he beats Ohio State 1 year. And now he's like, oh, I'm gonna get out of here. I was reading articles. Now this is Michigan campus reporting. So take this for what you will.
You're reading Michigan campus reports?
Yeah, I was.
Good for you.
Because I was really intrigued. I was really intrigued by the story. He was texting players and people close to him the day that he was going to Minnesota, thanking them for the well wishes and basically saying his goodbyes. He went to Minnesota for that 8-hour long interview. He thought he had that job in the bag. He thought that he left Michigan thinking that he was going to be named the Vikings head coach. And for him to be turned down and for him to be shunned and to be rejected by what's his name, Kyle O'Donnell or whatever.
O'Connell. Yeah. Kevin O'Connell.
Kevin O'Connell. For Jim Harbaugh to be spurned by the Minnesota Vikings after he told it was on National Signing Day is when he went to do this. So like that like you don't do that unless you're thinking that you're out and you're going to accept this position as a college head coach for what it does for recruiting and team morale, things like that. You don't just go off and interview for an NFL head coaching position on National Signing Day. So the fact that he was telling people like goodbye and appreciate the well wishes for this opportunity, he thought that he had this job and he didn't get it. It is amazing to me that happened. It's just very fitting for the snake that he is.
Yeah. It also, I like also that it makes Michigan kind of look stupid too, because
Yeah,
the girl that like was running around on you. I don't know why I made it gendered, but the girl that's running around on you. Nah, we'll just take her back. She's good. She's good when she's around. Like supports me and stuff. Like I
she
can.
was just talking. She was just talking to that
Oh
guy.
yeah, she's just talking.
Nothing ever happened.
You could turn it around too. The bad boy that goes and does whatever he wants.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You've always got a home here. Well, I'll change him. Oh, again, this is as soon as you get into gendering things, it's a slippery slope. But Michigan's stupid too because he will leave the first chance he gets. It's obvious. You're absolutely right, Scotty. I beat Ohio State. I ruined their season. I'm out of here. I won't go down as the worst Michigan coach of all time, Brady Hoke.
Literally, what else can he achieve in Michigan? I mean, I don't blame him for wanting to get out because what else? I mean, look, it's very clear the way that the national or the college football landscape is from here on out. The best that Harbaugh can ever hope for at Michigan is to beat Ohio State, win a Big Ten championship, and get just destroyed by Alabama in the playoffs. Like that's his future from here on out. So he's looking for something else. Maybe he wants a Super Bowl ring because he didn't get one when he lost to his brother, a few years ago. So I don't blame him. But I'm really glad that like around the same time, Ryan Day came out and said, "Dude, there's no way I'm leaving Ohio State. My family's never going to leave Columbus, and I can't either." So it just
nice.
continuing on with the rivalry. So
I kind of wish that instead of Dougie Fresh that the Jags got in on Harbaugh, so you go from Urban flame out, and then you have Harbaugh and he'd flame out. Actually, he should have stayed in San Francisco. I don't even know why he left there.
Yeah,
probably maybe the Kaepernick stuff got too hot. I'm not really sure, but he probably should have stayed there. They went to the Super Bowl. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough of that shit. Last thing in the NFL, and then we're going to other things. I promise, listener. The Washington Commanders. What do you think?
Out of all the names on their short list, it's the one that I like the least.
I think the one that I liked the least was the Presidents.
Well, that's true. The Presidents wasn't great either. That's a good point. But
if they wanted honestly, okay, I agree with you. I think that how you overlook being called the commies in the nation's capital, I don't really know how that happens. If you wanted to, what I would have done, have it be red something, like Red Wolves, Red Hawks, or Red whatever, or have it be the Generals, and really play up like the Pentagon, like military, like it's an easy bridge. It's something people can get behind. And you're not going to like if you say, "Hey, we're going to have this team." I mean, we have a team called the Patriots. Like if you had a team that was like the Generals, and you had like a camo alternate or something like that, even if it was like like not like a crazy camo, like the Dudley Boys or anything like that. But like play up the military side of it. People would like that. They would just like
Love it.
The biggest problem I have with the Commanders, it's not that it is the Commanders, or we'll call them the commies. I honestly, I think over the years I'll find that kind of fun. But in your release, and when you announced this, 2 years in the making, you had plenty of time to think about this. In your release video on Twitter, like a minute and a half clip that you sent around everywhere, you didn't tell me what a commander was. I don't know what a commander is. Like the Indians, the Cleveland Indians, they rebranded. They're the Guardians now. Painfully generic, safe, boring name. The very least, I don't like it, just to be clear. To the very least, they said, hey, in Cleveland, when you're entering the city, you cross this bridge, and there's these two big these statues of like guys holding a sword, and like they're broad and they're like whatever. They're guarding the bridge, they're guarding the city. We're gonna go with Guardians. It's almost nothing, but it's something. I don't know how Commanders relates to DC. I don't know what a commander is. I don't know what the logos, the symbols are. It's the same W as they had the Washington football team. They did a. I'm not saying it's easy, and they're gonna be criticized no matter what they put out there. But this sucked. Like it just sucked. The whole release of it, there was the fanfare of it, if you can call it fanfare. Poor execution. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
Kev, you know this full well. There's been better rollouts of new jerseys than for teams than a brand new identity of this team. You know what I mean? Like there's better hype videos for just changing the freaking logo or color of an existing team than what they put into this,
Yeah.
Like you've had an opportunity. How often do teams change their name? That is not a common thing. It happens, once every few decades. They had an opportunity to really generate some serious hype on this, and it was just awful.
I mean, the jersey they have all new jerseys, but the only picture I saw of it was like it was dark and like there's shading, and I can't really make out what the actual details are. It's almost like they promised a date, and they got to release something, and maybe all the details aren't worked out yet, but they feel fine about Commanders. It's not like anybody's top choice, but like did like a ranked voting, and like that's like the one that ranked the highest, you know. Or Dan Snyder's just like, oh, I'm getting all this fan feedback that they like Red Wolves, they like this and that, they like Washington football team keeping it the same. But you know what? This is my team, and I am the commander, so we're gonna be the Commanders. It should be the Snyders, the Washington Snyders.
Their logo could be a little pretzel.
Gosh, man, yeah, that would be at least they would have like just blatant sellout of like a sponsor. We're just having Snyders of Hanover, just like they're our team now. We're the fighting pretzels.
Hey, I'm actually more excited about that than the Commanders. So,
My gosh, if they were the Washington Pretzels, I think I'd love that.
Yeah,
dude, just think about everybody in the stands on it's like Dime a Dog night at the Clippers. We're giving out pretzels. Everybody gets pretzels. Big,
everybody.
The stadium pretzels. Just love that. Love that. Commanders, what a friggin' joke. They should have just kept the football. I might choose to just call them the football team. Everybody will know. It's been 2 seasons. Everybody will know who I'm talking about.
I like the football team. Football team's pretty good. I was sticking with me. So
okay, let's move on. Different sport. We got at least 3 more things to talk about. We can go quick. But Scottie, tell me everything that you're feeling about the baseball lockout. This is a huge transition. Okay.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, and it just really dawned on me. Like I was so excited this year, and granted, there's two things that are different this winter compared to last winter and previous winters. Number one, obviously the Bengals being in the Super Bowl. I've been like way invested in it, longer than I normally would. But also, this is the first year with the extra week of the season, so everything is delayed. So we're into mid-February, and there's still football, there's still that going on. It's like, hey, the time, the doldrums of February, where there's no sports that I really care about going on right now, that time has been lessened significantly. So I was really excited. I was like, oh, sweet. It's only like, after the Super Bowl is over, it's only like, 10 days till pitchers and catchers report. And I was like, oh, wait.
T's and C's.
Oh, I was like, now with this lockout, it's not going to, the season could potentially be in jeopardy. And it just brought me back to 2020, the awfulness of that year and the lack of sports. And that could happen. We could not have, April baseball and opening day fanfare when the weather's warm. Like that's a big part of the spring. And we might not have that now because of this this lockout. And you know what? Like it's hard because in my education of just how the world works and how organizations work and players unions and things like that, as that's evolved, as I've grown up and I've started to understand it, I'm very much more on the side of like the players and trying to get the players compensated as much as possible and all the different things that are going on with the leagues and how the leagues and the owners can kind of not only screw the players but also kind of screw the sport in many ways with how they do things like throwing games in baseball and how they um, budget with the luxury tax and teams that are just tanking and don't spend any money on players at all, like the Pirates. Like, so I want to see some change there that makes the sport more competitive, that sees the players get paid more, that sees maybe teams not doing the things like the Pirates are doing for such a long period of time. So, like, I want to see some improvement there, but at the same time, from baseball perspective, the baseball players already have a pretty great deal, in my opinion, relative to other sports and other players unions. You've got guaranteed contracts. You could sign a 10-year deal, not play a single game if you're hurt and you're trying to get better or whatever, and you still get that money. That's pretty awesome. Like there's things that baseball already has that maybe they take for granted compared to other sports that I'd like to see some type of resolution on, so we can get back to playing baseball. That's kind of my high level opinion of the matter.
You know what I want? I want this lockout to last as long as possible. I want this lockout to last into May. And then P's and C's will report at the end of May, and you'll have June, July, August, September. 4 months to cram in as many games as you can. Every single one of them will matter, unlike it is now, because most of them don't. And then, hell, scrap October. We'll have June, July, August regular season, a 3-month regular season. How about that? And then, boom, September hits, playoffs, shortened season. The ratings they'll skyrocket. All of the owners and the executives will be like, wow. When we don't just waste our time for most of the year, people really pay attention to this sport. It's kind of the shot in the arm that the old America's finest needed. The whole game changes. The rest of our life. The next season shortened. All the baseball games are played on Saturday nights across the country. It'll be a beautiful thing. That's what I want. That's what I want to see out of this lockout.
That sounds horrible, and I hope that never happens.
Trevor Bauer for president. The Winter Olympics, Scottie. I love how we spent like an hour on football shit, and how we're gonna like breeze
This is
by
it.
like
We won't have. There won't be much football to talk about until draft time. But the only thing I'll say is that the Winter Olympics suck. When you have a situation where a country like Norway, which has about 5 million people, like 0.0001% of the world population, winning all the damn medals, because guess what? Their country snows. It snows their country almost year round, and you have the other half of the world's population that lives below the equator that doesn't participate at all because it never snows there at all. Guess what? Your games suck. Summer Olympics are way better than the Winter Olympics. Sure, there's a few things. There's a few throwing a stone down an ice rink, and brushing it is granted. It is unique. It's kind of cute, and it could be a little fun and entertaining to watch. But by and large, Winter Olympics suck. China can have it. Whatever. I'm not watching it either, but not for very different reasons than you. So that's my stance.
I mean, it's stupid to say that we've talked too long about this. We've barely talked at all about this compared to other things we talked about. But I feel like I need to defend the Winter Olympics a little bit. Like, those sports are kind of
No, you
cool,
don't.
Scottie.
Look, I know, Kevin. I get it. I'm being a little. I mean, I look. You mentioned the ones that were cool. The luge is cool.
Speed
The
skating's cool.
bobsled's cool. Speed skating can be cool. You know, hockey, men's and particularly women's hockey is really cool because you don't see women's hockey like in any type of a national setting on TV. So watching that is really awesome to see. So I get that. There are some cool things about the Winter Olympics that if it's on TV and I got nothing else to do, I'm gonna watch a little bit. But because of the fact that it's the Winter Olympics and not every country has a winter, and you got these European countries that just dominate and have no business dominating and representing the world in this massive way anywhere else. I don't need it. It's not, if they just said, hey, you know what? Sorry, budget cuts. We're only keeping one Olympics, and it's the summer one. I'll say, good call.
Of course,
That's what you
that
need
would
to
be
do.
the case. Of course, that would be the case. Moving on, Scotty. Do we have one more thing? That was good.
I think that was it.
That was it. Wow, look at that.
I mean, it's been an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, this was a mega episode. We hadn't, we're bottled up, from Thanksgiving. We had to give the people what they wanted. And,
We did.
I guess, what do you want to close with? I mean, we can't just close on such a negative vibe that like the Olympics is a sham and the world politics is fucked. I mean,
well, you know what I would close with? I would close with, the single greatest sports moment in the history of my life.
We're not talking about that. We've already been through that. You know what we should talk about in 1.5 weeks? Daytona. The NASCAR season begins, buddy. We already had the Busch Clash this last weekend. It was okay. It was fine. And we got Daytona coming up. Scotty, I am so excited for NASCAR. I don't know why it is. It just feels like a purely American thing. Like NASCAR at this point feels more American to me than baseball does. It feels more American to me than the NFL does. And not for any reason other than like, what's more American than just like wasting a bunch of gas, going as fast as you can around a circle, and talking about Coca-Cola at the end.
Sponsors.
Exactly. Talking about Coca-Cola and like, breathe right strips. That's not a sponsor. But imagine if it was. Get pumped for Daytona, buddy. Screw Joey Logano. Probably Kevin Harvick's last season. I'm ready to go.
Danny's going to get a win. He's got to get a Daytona win again.
Do you know he's like 38 years old? He's old.
He's old.
He's a good-looking old guy, old athlete. He's been around a long time.
He's been racing for a long time.
Virginia's finest.
I'm pumped for Daytona. I agree. Daytona is an American tradition. That race in particular, there's something about it. I love that it's in February. Down in Florida. I like. It's perfectly positioned in a spot where you need it the most. You know what I mean? Like when Super Bowl's already kind of died out. You're looking for. Oh, hey, this is the kickoff of the NASCAR season. You're almost feeling like it's almost summertime. You feel like it's okay to day drink. It's just there's just something about the Daytona 500 it's an American tradition. It's just something that
I completely agree. And he actually hit the nail on the head. One of the best things about Daytona is the Super Bowl ends, and it's like, oh, what am I going to do? Well, right around the corner, literally this year, because of the extended schedule for the NFL, it's the next weekend. Like, all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about Pro Bowl and All-Star games. Next episode. Well, they all just happened. We should probably talk about them. Go Daytona. Everybody watch it, baby. Rev it up. Crank it up.
That's right.
Real quick on the Pro Bowl, because we're going to finish off with this. And I'm not doing a top three, because that's played out. We're done with the top three. This is the new era. 2020, the first episode of 2022, Scotty. We should have led with that.
It's true. We should have.
Everybody agrees that the NFL has major problems with the Pro Bowl. The league that does not have an issue with their all-star festivities is the NHL. I don't know if you watched it. I don't think you did. But the NHL All-Star break is so fun because all of the players generally seem like they like each other. It's mid-season, so they're all like up to speed and their bodies still work and they can actually compete in a game. The skills competition is so much fun. Fastest slap shot, the dribble drills, like the little launch pads. It's just so much fun. And it was in Vegas this year. They're doing everything right in the NHL. I encourage everybody who's listening to this, find yourself an NHL team and just kind of get into it a little bit. Because hockey is a great, great, great sport. That's my only pitch. NBA is good too. The slam dunk competition is not what it used to be. Because the stars don't do it anymore. I mean,
right.
You literally, the iconic Jordan moment was from the slam dunk competition. And why people don't do this, I don't know. It's so
Okay.
if I was if I was like a good enough basketball player, and you say, hey, LeBron and like all the top 20 best players in the league aren't coming to the slam dunk competition. Do you want to do it? Like hell yes, I want to do it. Are you kidding me? Get a national stage, but even if it's not what it used to be, I get to just have some fun and do some dunks. Hell yeah, I'm doing that. So it's almost like you can get some lower level guys getting a little bit of the limelight, but it's not what it used to be. Not good for TV. Good for them though. Any thoughts on any of those things?
Well, I agree. I like what NHL does. I didn't watch it, of course, but I do like the skills competitions are really cool, and NBA also does it really well. There's something about the All Star break for baseball that is it is cool on its own. I agree. I wouldn't rank it better than any of the other two, but there's something about the baseball's All Star break. Football by far is the worst. And one thing I was just thinking about this, maybe it would make it better. What if they played the Pro Bowl instead of the Hall of Fame game, like in August? You know what I mean? Like they actually play the Pro Bowl in Canton in
Mm.
August to start the season off, and you just have the guys to you're still kicking off training camp and stuff. You're celebrating last year because you're gonna half-ass it anyways because that's what they just did. You know what I mean? But you actually, it's a part of the preseason festivities versus after the season. Because here's what I'm thinking: you got all these guys, all of these guys. Their season's been over for 3 weeks already. They're on vacation. They're on off-season mode. Then you bring them back. They're gonna just play. I mean, it was an abysmal game. People weren't tackling. They were giving up. You had Mac Jones looking like a goof, just running down, scoring that touchdown because people gave up. Otherwise, they would have clobbered him. You know what I mean? Whereas if you put it in the preseason, and it's like, hey, we're getting back together. We're getting in shape. We're training for the season. Oh, I'm gonna hang out with some of my buds in the Pro Bowl. Meet with some other people and stuff. And I think there'd be more hype. There'd be actually more market to watch that game because as fans, we're also kind of fatigued with the football season too. We're pumped for the Super Bowl, but no one's out watching no one's going to seek it out. But if that's the only football if you haven't seen any football for 7 months and you got this Pro Bowl game going, like you're gonna tune in because you're like, oh, I want to see some good football. At least you got the stars playing. It's an all-star game feel. If you play it in Canton, it's like a really cool homage to the birth of football. Like I think you could do that right by making it at the beginning of the season versus doing it at the end of the season.
Let me take your idea and just tweak it a little bit because I think that's a good idea. I think that you play the game in Canton the week after the Super Bowl. So for like make Super Bowl week. Like, there's no 2 weeks in between. You just go from AFC Championship and then the next weekend to Super Bowl. Why should that be any special? Like you just go into it. The week after the Super Bowl, you play the Pro Bowl, okay, and you play it in Canton, and the winning team, every player gets 50 grand or 100 grand or some meaningful number. I was gonna say 500 grand, but that's like
They make 50 grand now, I think.
then like triple it or something like that. But it's only the winning team. So like you got to go and you got to play to win. I mean, and if something happens and you get injured, you have the whole entire off season. It doesn't affect your year before. You have the whole off season. Like players will say like it's right before free agency starts, and maybe you have some like key free agents sit out, but you're still going to get at least a decent football game that's watchable. That you have like it would still have that actual competitive feel to it because even if the players are like take all the stars and like Rodgers isn't playing and what Rodgers probably would a quarterback would be dumb not to play because you don't even get hit, but like say you have some linebacker that's a star linebacker that's going to be a free agent, but maybe he sits out, but you still have a group of players that are playing for stakes because the losers don't get anything. Maybe they get something. I'm just spitballing here, but like that's when you do it. And it's like the last little nugget of football we get before the off season. You get right off into the sunset. I think before the season, I think coaches would hate that because it throws off the rhythm of the preseason. They don't want to get injured right before the season starts because that's when they get all their incentives and shit. But but that's one way to do it. I like all the skills competitions they have. They do that stuff. That's interesting. Nobody watches it, but they do that. Anyway, wow, we really fizzled out there. I think it's time for dinner. Hey, Scottie, thank you. This was a great conversation. Really enjoyed it. I'm going to try to post this as soon as possible. Got to do it before the weekend. Scottie, good luck this weekend, buddy. Eat some wings. Don't let the Buffalo fans get you down. Even if you lose, you got next year as well. That's it.
Real quick question for you: if they do lose,
Who?
If the Bengals lose, would you still, if you were me and say it was the Browns, would you buy like the AFC Championship swag, or is that like you lost the Super Bowl, it doesn't mean anything anymore?
I appreciate the question. You buy the AFC Championship swag. You do not buy Super Bowl swag. Nobody gives a shit that you went and lost. But you did win the AFC. You are AFC champions. You were the best team to come out of one half of the NFL.
Right.
That's something.
That's something. All right. On that note, talk to you next time.
See you next week. Scottie, good job today, man.
Hey, you too. It was good. Felt good about that.
I got to get going. This is too much. Too much.
Same. Yeah, I got some spaghetti meatballs waiting for me downstairs.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So if you've listened this far, you must, for some reason, like what you've heard. So given that, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Twitter @ObsessionCast for all future episode updates and whatever else we might post, sports related or otherwise. Thanks for watching.